Hello and welcome to Racers Now. We're trying something a little bit different on this Tuesday night as I'm joined by SD and hopefully some other guests and viewers and subscribers as we look forward to the jump season, which unofficially gets underway with a bit of a whimper this weekend at Cheltenham. And then we start rolling into November and December. And you know what comes in March, which I'm sure will be covered. SD, how are you? And are you looking forward to the jump season or not?
Well, of course, I'm looking forward to the jump season. I mean, November brings the Betfair Chase, December brings the Borders National, the Peterborough, the King George, the January brings the Sussex National, and the Warwick Classic Chase and the Pillar, and then February brings the Edinburgh National. You're getting a bit of a theme here, aren't you? The Grand National Trial at Haydock, the old Racing Post Chase, the Tote Gold Trophy, the Denman Chase, and March brings the Premier Hurdle, and then something called the Festival, and then it goes on to the Midlands National. And eventually we go to the Grand National and the Scottish National and the Norfolk National and the Somerset National. So it's all good fun. So there you are.
What we need is more nationals, SD.
Well, I was at the Durham version on Sunday.
We've already had one. We've already had
had one, and we backed the winner.
You're a good person to ask this because, in an extremely strange manner, you balk or avoid the big festivals on the flat and on the jumps, namely Royal Ascot, Ebor Festival, and Cheltenham Festival. Is the jump season to Cheltenham Festival focused?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the short answer. You go back 20, 30 years. There are a lot of prestigious races. You know, you think of races like, I don't know, we mentioned the Tote Gold Trophy at Newbury, now the Betfair Hurdle, and a lot of them are run as trials for Cheltenham, and they are bloody good races in their own right. All this pissing around for, we'll just have one run before Cheltenham. What a nonsense! I mean, Desert Orchid never did it, did it?
And as we know, they have made some changes to the festival. For those that don't know and are more flat like me and need an introduction to the jump season, I think the changes are along the lines of the 2.5 mile novice grade 1 is now been turned into a handicap, but they don't know what the limit of that handicap is yet. So there's not many people. They shouldn't be betting anti-post on it because you don't know how many runners there's going to be for a start.
Well, there's going to be at least 16. I mean, come on.
No, you don't know. So that was called the Gallaghers. That's now turned into a handicap. The Turners, which is the chasing novice equivalent over 2.5 miles, is a handicap as well, with the same caveats applying at the moment, unanswered questions. And then the National Hunt Chase is now a handicap as well, I think. And that's a 145 max rating, and it's now open to all jockeys and not just amateurs. Before we get stuck into the nitty gritty, and we've got Watty Racing's joined us now as well.
Hello, Neil. How are you?
Hi, Stephen. You okay?
Yes, very well, very well.
Neil's good.
I had the car journey with me back from Sedgefield in Storm Ashley. So
yeah. It was good fun. I thought I'd put this particular T-shirt on today. I thought you might appreciate it.
Oh yes. I wonder what time Derek Thompson's dialing in.
Well,
depends on which he's been offered.
Steady.
Well, yeah.
Tomo is a known advocate of Racers Now, having advertised it previously.
Friend of the channel.
So
yeah, it's a good bloke, Tomo, actually.
Before we get into any negativity, and I can bring plenty of that when it comes to jump racing, can you give me...
Signal gone down in Wigan.
The signal appears to have gone down, so heaven knows what he was asking.
The question was...
Here we are.
One thing that you're looking forward to in this jump season. Let's start with some positivity. What are you looking forward to? A horse, an event, a change?
I'm looking forward to them. I think, like Stephen was saying beforehand, the nationals, not just the Grand National of the Scottish, but I do like those nice long distance handicap chases that you get, like the Beecher Chase and the Classic Chase, and they're just proper horse races for me. I'm looking forward to watching them.
And I know we'll probably touch on the national a little bit later, but they're all a bit one in the same now. as in the Grand National, the uniqueness of the Grand National is being deliberately eroded over the years. That makes it just into another staying handicap, and there's plenty of them, as SD and yourself have spoken about. Yeah,
I think it gets to a point now where if you look at them, the Beachy Chase is actually more of an eventful race than the Grand National. Because I remember when I was watching the National last season back in April, I think midway through it, my brother was watching it with me for the first time in years. Because normally it used to be me and my dad watching it, but that can't happen anymore, sadly. But midway through it, I turned to Derek and I said, a mutual friend of mine and Stephen's, Gary, who lives in Liverpool, I said to him, I bet you after this race, Gary will text me and say it's such a boring national. And straight after, as soon as IMAX had passed the line, Gary was on the message, but bored shitless watching it. But the Beachy Chase, which is running December on heavy ground, so you'll get not a lot of finishers, and it's more wide open, I think, than the actual Grand National itself.
Yep. I see your point there. SD, go on then, give us some positivity before we bring the negativity. What are you looking forward to?
Well, the Betfair's shaping up quite well, We're going to have...
Are the Irish going to bother this year? Are the Irish going to bother with the Betfair?
Hopefully not.
The problem, you slate the Irish for not running. They have had runners in the race. It is a Premier horse race, and it is an exceptionally good spectacle. Where we may well see something like Lawn Press run. We might well see Grey Dawning run. It will be a very, very interesting race in its own right. It is not a trial for anything. As Protectorate last year.
Yeah, I don't think have the Irish won it yet. I can't remember. I don't think they have.
A Plutar won it.
A Plutar, yeah. That was I think that's been the only Irish winner of it. So it's in the. I think it's probably because of the trip as well. 3 miles, 1.5. When you've got the much shorter King George and the what I always think of as the Lexus Chase at Leopardstown over Christmas, they're probably more considered easier alternatives because 3 miles, 1 and a bit at Haydock when it's usually a bit soft to heavy. They're probably thinking, well, it's not worth trying to bottom your horse out first time.
Yeah,
never bottomed Cato Star, did it?
Well, no, and he of course jumped the old fences at Haydock, didn't he? He jumped them like there was no tomorrow, and he flew around them.
Yeah. Whilst we're on it, and we're going for an interactive feel to this episode, and we've had a couple of comments that I don't know whether you guys can talk about. We had a comment just over an hour ago on the YouTube. Brighter days ahead is staying over hurdles. I've requested a price for her for the champion hurdle because I don't think Gordon's got one for that race. Might be a fair comment earlier. I don't know if you had anything to say to that, boys.
I think, call me old-fashioned, but betting on them before they've even run at Cheltenham, it is a very easy way to perform. I mean, the problem with this fascination on the festival, of course, is everybody is looking out for something, and Jesus Christ, they're up and down the prices like a bloody pros knickers. And frankly, do you want to back a horse at 10-1 now, and do you want to back? I'll put one up at Fontwell tomorrow at 10-1. That's subtle.
I never have a festival. Yeah, I never have a bet on the festival until the Monday before the festival begins. I've never bothered with anti-post on that because it can happen, and I sooner enjoy the season as it progresses as opposed to thinking, like you say, 4 months ahead before something's even set foot at the stable.
Yeah, well, I had a look before I came on. Us or anyone talking or tipping about the Cheltenham Festival today, which is 140 days away, is like me having a bet on the 2,000 guineas on Boxing Day. That's the equivalent.
Well, you've done that. Yeah. Probably.
I probably have, but I probably have. But because it's become so Cheltenham focused to me, it's and I don't agree with SD on that many things, but I do agree where he says, there's so many eyes on the festival that there's nothing that nobody hasn't seen. There's nothing unseen. Whereas SD can get an angle today, Exeter or Newcastle or Fontwell, where other people aren't looking. So
Yeah.
I do very much appreciate that. It just takes a lot of doing because it's obviously at a lower level. You could make similar comments about the flat. But yeah, I do think that's a fair comment. Another comment we had a couple of weeks ago along similar lines. But there was a guy that goes by the name of Borat in our comments the other day and was
Yes,
talking
Borat
about,
always comments. Good evening,
Yes.
Borat. I wonder if
He
it
was
is
talking-
Sacha Baron Cohen.
he was talking about
Yeah.
a horse called Caroline Bamboo. Mares Novices Hurdle 33-1. Get on. But he said he spends a lot of time watching French form, and I know the bookies know less about it. So, and as do the general public, so the prices are often wrong. Says he's got form behind a good horse, second to De Hoos. I mean, I wouldn't be one to comment on that particularly, but again, similar comments, I guess, from you guys will apply. That it's way too far in advance at the moment. Okay, so we've touched on the Betfair. Is that kind of the first big race that you guys look forward to? SD, you sometimes look at the Charlie Hall, things like that. What's the real
I won't
first
be
highlight?
attending the Charlie Hall. It's a feral car. It used to be a good car, but it's not very good these days. I'll be up at Air. I used to look forward. You think of days of yesteryear when one man used to run in the Charlie Hall, running the Tommy Whittle, which is 3 weeks before the King George, running the King George, running the Pillar, then running the Comet Chase, then go to Cheltenham for either the Champion or the Gold Cup because the Ryanair didn't exist, and then perhaps go to Aintree. I mean, he was unfortunately killed at Aintree, but
it's a sad day that. Yeah,
it was a very sad day.
Yeah, it's like the Betfair's good, but if I could just say interject, we're in that sort of limbo period, aren't we, though, because the flat's as good as done. On in this country anyway, at least. I know you still get your Japan Cup and the Australian Cesarewitch in a couple of weeks as well. But so that's coming to an end. We're sort of in like pre-season mode at the moment, aren't we? You got
well, we are, but
yeah.
I know this is a jumps thing. But I must say, if you look at the winners of the Racing Post Trophy, or whatever they call it now, the John Dance is now bankrupt Group 1, or Group 1. It has a notable alumni of you.
Yeah, it does.
To authorize. It's 30 years this week since Celtic Swing won, and
you say this every year, SD.
Well, it is 30 years since Celtic Swing won the Racing Post Trophy. So
owned by your favourite man as well, Mr. Saville. Peter, that is.
Trained by Lady Harris, Anne Harris, who loves eyes. Yeah,
because Peter Saville, because he once infamously got punched in the face, I think, by George Duffield at Beverley one time.
Yes,
Peter Saville,
George Duffield's a very good judge of character.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfectly married.
Well,
Reluctantly, I'm taking it kind of division by division. I'm not necessarily hopefully not with the festival focus, but division by division makes sense. There's a champion race each day, etc. So starting with what I would call the champion hurdle division, from an anti-post perspective, it looks the same as last year from an anti-post perspective, but as we know, Constitution Hill didn't run on the day. Would you see Constitution Hill at the moment, apparently the best hurdler we've seen this century, possibly? I've got no idea. At 6-4, would you say that's decent enough value or not?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's just with the massive question mark. But every time you hear Nicky Henderson speak, he says he's absolutely bouncing, he's doing great, he might have a go at the Gold Cup next year. It's a flat one.
Look, you've got to go back to the basics with these things. So 7-4, which is what the horse is. So if the race is run 11 times, will it win 4? Well, you don't know if it'll turn up. You don't know if it's good enough. You've got state.
Well, we do know if it's good enough, SD. We do know if it's.
Well, you don't these days because the thing's been, it's had more illnesses than Freddie Mercury.
But on that, you could say that if he wasn't back to it near his best at home, then you can guarantee that Nicky wouldn't run him at all.
Well, that is also built into the price. But as horses get older, newer horses come through the ranks. I mean, frankly, it boils my head trying to back a horse at 7-4. I mean, William Hill had the best value last year. how many more champion hurdles will Constitution Hill win? And I kid you not, it was 5-1 that it wouldn't win another one. Now, isn't that looking tasty?
That is.
I didn't back it. I should have done, because I did point out to someone it was a stupid price. So no is the answer.
So, okay, fair enough. So you talked about new kids coming through or new kids on the block. Lossymouth was a debatable point last year. Should she run in the champion hurdle or should she not? Now, with the Cheltenham changes that they've made, they could have just made it so that there's a maximum rating to run in the Mares Hurdle. They've clearly not done that because Lossymouth would go over said maximum rating, you'd have thought, force good horses like her into the champion. The way I was looking at it and the way I was reading between the lines, could be wrong. I reckon they'll run Lossymouth in the Irish Champion Hurdle on Dublin Racing Festival weekend. Find out if she can get close to or beat State Man, then decide what she's going to do at the festival.
Trying to speculate what Willie Mullins is going to do 4 months in advance is just completely and utterly futile.
No, but SD, you need to humour me a bit for the purposes.
And tell you, I think Willie Mullins will run it in the Irish Champion Hurdle. I'd be frankly talking out of my fat arse to have any clue whatsoever.
For the purposes of a Racers Now discussion, and we've got Watty here, you do need to humour me a little bit on these questions.
Yeah, I think the one good thing about Willie though is that he's not afraid to put his best horses in the same races. He does that a lot. I think I read like Nicky Henderson saying Sir Gino, who won very well at Aintree back in April in the 4-year-old hurdle, won't take on State Man at all, but Constitution Hill at all. But he said they might meet in the Christmas hurdle at Kempton. But I'm thinking, well, with Sir Gino, he's got to go. If he doesn't go to the Aintree hurdle in November, he'll have to go for the Great Wood, because if Hill goes to Newcastle, then there's nowhere else for Sir Gino to run before the Christmas hurdle anyway.
Well, it's an interesting point, because there are now a finite number of races for top 2 mile hurdlers in this country.
Yeah.
They've got rid of the Haydock Champion Hurdle Trial, what used to be the Agfa Hurdle. The more battle has moved into a handicap closer to the festival. So there are less races to run in, and ultimately, if you are a 2 mile hurdler, you either go to Cheltenham now at the end of January for the Old Beulah, or you run in the Kingwell at Wincanton, or you go over to Ireland.
Yeah, or there's the Betfair Hurdle at Newbury, but you'd have to, Constitution Hill were to run in that, you'd have to shoulder top weight.
Well, do you remember Brewster running?
Yeah, I would love to see him in that race and shoulder top weight and give all the weight away just to see how good, because Barracuda did in that race at Standing over 2.6 many years ago. He carried top weight.
That was on Agfa Day as well. The Masters, I think it was called.
That's the one. Yeah, that 2.6 hurdle. He carried top weight. Every horse was at the handicap, and he beat them all. So
they
you know, and
Francois Duman anymore.
No.
And so obviously, we need to give a shout out to State Man, who won the Champion Hurdle last year in the absence of Constitution Hill, and we'll be back for more this year. In the 2 mile chasing division, Energumene is back, the 2023 Champion Chase winner, missed last year, is back. Last year's Champion Chase itself became a bit of it fell in the lap of Captain Guinness, did it not? Because El Fabiolo was 1 to 4, 5, pulled up or fell early doors. So yeah, Energumene is back, but is Energumene guaranteed to be running in the Champion Chase? Might he need further in time? Is he more of a Ryanair horse?
Well, none of them are guaranteed to be running, as we've just identified, but I will humor you slightly.
Thank you.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
that was
a bit of starter in the Peterborough.
Maybe, yeah, maybe, probably not. The Peterborough is only even money to be abandoned anyway. And then you've got the likes of Gaelic Warriors, last year's Arkle winner, John Bon, pulled out by Nicky Henderson's horses being wrong last year. But I mean, John Bon's, he could win. You could see him winning over all sorts of trips. You could see John Bon having a chance. He would have a chance if he turned up in a King George, a Ryanair, a Champion Chase, a Melin, or whatever it is. The group, Aintree.
I think he'll start in the Schlur. I think he's probably progressing, and if he keeps progressing at the rate of not. Sorry, I'm just trying to watch this race at Newcastle. It's up in 5. Just watching the prices. He'd have a chance.
I do think that is
trying to my focus was immediately on the jump season. I had a look at the old Rowan today. It looks a bloody good race. Would rather that than trying to do a Mystic Meg and trying to second guess.
And I'm just saying the division as a whole. The division as a whole. That 2-mile chase division, it looks pretty open. It's 4-1 the field for the champion chase itself. You know, you've got Gaelic Warrior, of course, in there. El Fabiolo still knocking about. Last year's winner.
I'm not a Gaelic Warrior fan, I have to say.
Oh, I think they might. I think they ended up getting him right eventually. Obviously, he won the Oscar.
Yeah, but it took them enough goes to do it. So again, he
fell, didn't he? At the Dublin Racing Festival before that.
He was abominable that day. So it's tricky. It really is very tricky.
Yeah. I think John Bond's main day is going to probably be in the Tingle Creek and the Celebration, both at Sandown.
Yeah,
and he'll probably win a Melling as well.
He'll go Schlur, Tingle Creek, Victor Chandler, whatever they call it, champion. I mean, it's pretty much mapped out.
Yeah.
It'd be nice actually if John Bond and Nicky grew a small pair and said, actually, we'll ship John Bond in the Holden Gold Cup at Exeter. He can run off 168, and it would just be nice.
It would. I thought SD was going to suggest John Bond running at Hexham. Then we're 21 minutes in, and he's not mentioned Hexham yet. Going a little bit off piste. Question for the panel from Andy Humphrey, who's been on a few times before. Can they name a Paul Nicholls horse that they think will finish second or higher in a Grade 1 this season?
Well, he's got a horse I like from last season called In the Waterside. I saw at Aintree. Progressed through hurdles. So I think if he goes chasing, he could make into a fair chaser. Probably go for Silly Isles or that Pendle at Kempton, which might suit him better. So just off the top of my head, because I've still not fully got to grips on the jumpers yet. I'm still busy looking through last season's Cheltenham results. But he was a horse I like following, In the Waterside.
In the Waterside, right? I'll note that down, Watty.
Grade 1. I'm trying to think. Well, Braveman's game's gone. Dare I say it?
Is he 10 now?
He'll be I don't know.
He'll probably turn up at Weatherby again, won't he? Braveman?
Yeah, probably.
We'll see. This time next week, we'll be talking about the Charlie Hall, won't we? I think Ollie's A game, Stage Star, is a very good horse, but whether or not he'll be up there, I don't know. I mean, Nicholls was very prickly when interviewed at Plumpton this week about the lack of form of these horses. It was a perfectly good question by Luke Harvey. You know, you've got the Caldwell horses as well, maybe, but those runs at Chepstow, he had 12 runners and they were noticeably below par. So, you know, everyone has their day. Even Martin Pipe at the end, I'm not for 1 second suggesting Nicholls is finished, but even Martin Pipe at the end tapered off a little bit.
And to be fair,
the best of us.
To be fair, though, I think they always need a run to begin. I think the Nicholls form will change when we get to Wincanton on November Handicap Day for the Badger Ales, because he targets that meeting. He likes to lay horses out for that day, and that'll, if you like backing Paul Nicholls blind, just wait till Wincanton for the Badger Ales. I
remember seeing Teton Mill win the Badger Ales. 1998, went on to win the Hennessy and numerous good races after that. Cracking horse. And by the winning post, we also owned General Wolf, which won Peter Marshall. You'll remember that.
Yeah,
right.
Well, General Wolf actually won that train by 2 different trainers, didn't he? Because the year before Venetia trained him, he was trained by would you possibly call him the eccentric Captain Tim Foster in Ludlow?
Yes, he was great.
Yeah.
Captain
Are we on a history lesson here or what? Right, we're coming away from the history lesson. Another off-piece question. I'm going to go to Watty on this one because SD will have no interest. The Jumps Trainers Championship. Willie Mullins won it last year. He's 7-4 to do it again this year. Dan Skelton 6-4. Nicholls 5-1. Henderson any price you like. any views on that. I think it sounds like Mullins is going to go for it again. He sounded like he enjoyed it last year, and he fancies it doing it again.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what I will say, how bad is it for British racing? But good for Irish racing, bad for British, when the champion flat and jump trainers don't even train on these shores. That's a bit worrying. But yeah, I think Mullins will be going for it because there's decent prize money. He doesn't really have to send his best horses over anyway. He can send his second and third strings to mop them up, if we're perfectly honest. And that'll scare opposition away. Skelton, well, people always question Skelton. I won't say anything because I don't want to libel myself and get sued. But you know, I think Langadan. That's all I will say. Yeah. And Nichols is still firing again, but he might not have the firepower as the heyday of Porto and Denman and big bucks. Henderson, I think he might go the same way as Stout in a couple of seasons. I think he might just, once Constitution Hill's peaked and gone, he might be considering, hanging his training stick up.
Oh, that's a big shout. I mean, SD and I were down there, right? Well, first time I've ever been down to Lambourne in May, was it April this year? And the facilities from afar that it appeared Henderson had looked amazing to me, absolutely amazing. But I mean, he's blind as a bat for a start. I don't know what SD thinks about it.
Well, look, I would have Mullins at probably odds on to do it, to be honest.
Well, in
I
which
think
case,
the guy's that much firepower. I think he's shown a bit of intent over the summer about bringing horses over. And I think what we may see is him targeting races, I don't know, like the Charlie Halls, the Peterborough, he'll probably have one running at Warwick in that big race, the Tote Girl Trophy, those sorts of races which carry prize money outside of the festival. He's no stone jug, Willie Mullins, and I'd be shocked if he didn't go for it.
Yeah, and it showed how good he is as a trainer. When back in June at Royal Ascot, in all the previews, the stable previews that they have going to O'Brien and Stouts and Gosdens, Willie Mullins was included in that about his Royal Ascot runners. That's the strength and depth he's got of dual-purpose horses.
I mean, these things can change, over time, and I'm sure we've got a lot of good young British trainers. We've got Oliver Stigney, Jamie Snowden, Ben Pauling. Don't mention the golf course to Carl Llewellyn there.
Yeah, and of course, sticking close to home, Josh and Ollie in Cheshire, of course. They've got some good firepower, like Iroko, for example.
You'd say Iroko has a reasonable chance of winning a decent race.
Right, next division, the staying hurdlers, which I always think is for either horses that can't jump a fence or aren't quick enough for other racers, or both. Tiapu won the Stayers Hurdle last year, should have won it the year before when was ridden by a retired jockey. And it's come out today that Tiapu's stablemate, Irish Point, is out for the season. So that might open the door a little bit. Tiapu's one of them so-called typical straight to Cheltenham horses. Will run in that Hatton's Grace thing in early December and then straight to Cheltenham. That's the type of horse he is. But is that division as a whole of any interest to you guys or not?
I will say I thought there were some giant strides last season, and he's entered this weekend for Gwenny, my boy, in handicap company, and it wouldn't take that much progression. You've got to bear in mind the old boys of Dashel, Drasher, and Paisley Park have probably are probably past their sell-by date, and they'll either be retired or won't be competitive. So it strikes me as horses will come through. Maybe something like Gwenny, my boy, but again, am I going to go in and
but SD is currently 100 to 1 if you want to back that for the Stayers. I'm not saying you should. I've never heard. I don't even know who trains the horse, but I'm just saying it's 100 to 1.
Your mate Dan.
Oh yeah, Dan. Well, he's got Langadan in there at 33 as well.
Well, he's come out today and say if he what was it? To run in the Coral Cup, he'll have to stink 3 times. Otherwise, we're going.
Well, to be fair, he stunk a few times last season before that. I mean, he ran in the Lanzarote in January and finished
pulled up
properly down the field.
I think the rabbits have multiplied and have come out manifold out the hat with that.
Yeah. Just one in that division I've always thought was talented and half knocking on the door. This Home by the Lee, 2023 ran pretty well in the race, hampered, didn't really show up 2024, but yeah, that's just one I've had a affiliation to, let's call it, Home by the Lee in that division.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's a nearly horse, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep, that's fair enough. On to the staying chasing division. Galopin de Champs is going for the hat trick. I think he's head and shoulders above all of them, to be honest, as far as my amateur eye in this sphere of racing is concerned. Yeah, I just think he is.
It's what I will say is history tells you a few things. It's very hard to win 3 Gold Cups. They can. We were talking about bottoming horses before. They can do that. He's proved he's beatable. I'd like to see the national winner in the Gold Cup. And I'd also like to see, let's say Galopin wins 3 Gold Cups. Yep. Given what we said about the national before, will he make it a horse that everyone can identify with and run it in the national?
See, I disagree with that, ST. I do not think there should. I'll tell you why. I do not think there should be a connection between the Gold Cup and the Grand National. I just don't think there should be.
Gerald and Rough Quest.
Yeah, no, and that's not to say there isn't. Of course, there's a connection, but I don't think there should be, because to me, the Gold Cup should be stay-in chasers quality, and the Grand National should be stay-in chasers more obviously.
So the national has now evolved, whether we like it or not, into a better class handicap chase. It's the best class handicap chase of the year. So therefore, given the evolution and given the direction of travel to a lot less, in terms of equine fatalities and things like that, I would encourage Willie to run it. And look, it must have crossed his mind. If he wins 3 Gold Cups, why not have a crack at the national? What's history going to say? He won 3 Gold Cups and pulled up in a national if it goes wrong, or will history say he's one of the best chasers of all time, winning 3 Gold Cups and the Grand National?
Yeah, I'd like to see him go for a national. I think it's a pity more horses don't. But I think speaking of it, like you say, it's become a more better class race, and the only way we'll ever get the national back to how it was for us going up would be if you actually got rid of half the prize money, because that way
the only way you would get the Grand National back to how it was. The answer is
because
you basically have to kill half the lefties.
Oh, there's absolutely no chance. It's gone. It's gone forever. Things
evolve over time. You look at them. If you look at Rummy's Nationals, for example, it's never come back. They're not going to make the fences bigger. There's no point us sitting here and going on about Mini Homer's National or Rough Quests or whatever, and
different races
back. It isn't going to happen. The direction of travel is to make it a safer race, and
but ultimately you'll end up with a boring one.
Yeah. Just on them, that stay chasing division, Factor File, probably the most impressive winner at the festival last year. He's 4-1 second favourite at the moment for the Gold Cup, behind Galopin de Champs 7-2. I mean, there's been examples, hasn't there, of horses that have won 2 before. They wouldn't be expected to be 7-2 at this stage going for a third, but I think that just shows the quality in depth. Factor File in there. The green and gold colours could have half the field. From Factor File, I know the way you're thinking. I Am Maximus, Corbett's Cross, John Bon, and others that could potentially run there. Not all of them will, obviously.
I do like Corbett's Cross as a horse. He might be a national horse.
Well,
he won the what was the old Grade 2 at the National Hunt Challenge Cup. Before that got bollocksed up by the people at Cheltenham, didn't he?
Well, he won that race. I don't think any of us are in dispute of the need for more quality at Cheltenham, and to an extent, that's what they've tried. Personally, I'd have got rid of the Ryanair and probably the Mares Hurdle, because we wouldn't have seen Flaky Dove or say One Man win their respective races. Just a word on this thing from France, this Il est français.
Yeah, well, that's more King George bound, so that brings us on to the King George. Go on, 7-2 for the King George on Boxing Day.
Well, it stunk, didn't it? It absolutely, it stunk like a bloody pile of manure when it ran after Kempton, and then it came back and won something at some French provincial track. I've no idea.
No, it was Auteuil.
Well, it's a French provincial track.
Yeah, but you would call anything other than Longchamp, you would call a provincial track.
It's across the road from Longchamp, behind the Bois de Boulogne.
Sorry, I don't go.
He's not very well travelled, Neil. He only goes to Benidorm.
Yeah, I only go to Benidorm. Great betting shop bar. But in all seriousness, yes, the time was very good in the Felton. But he's got to prove himself in a big field over here. And just looking at the King George at this stage, I have to say I have had a few quid on one. Dare I say?
Oh yeah, go on then. Brave man's game.
I bet Long Press. I've been backing Long Press in little bits all over summer because I thought Long Press ran a great race in the Gold Cup when I didn't think he stayed. He was in front 2 out. He might be getting on a bit, but I think he's had 15 or 16 runs, and I could see him running very well in the Betfair, and then going straight to the King George. Venetia wouldn't be afraid of that. He's a quality animal, and I think at 33, what you've got to bear in mind, of course, is that the King George very rarely attracts a great number of runners. So if you're betting
it last year,
what?
There's plenty in it last year, wasn't there?
How many ran last year? Have a look when Hewitt ran. It might have been 7. It's very rarely 8 or more. You look back and you look at the number of runners. It's I bet the average is about 5, 6 probably.
Yeah, okay. And I've just been reliably informed by our French racing expert in the comments that LA Francais is targeted at the Gold Cup as well as the King George. He's 72 for the King George.
They can have all these bloody targets all they like, but until he proves himself in open company in the UK, frankly, I'm not interested.
Okay, and just on the King George, the shortest price British trained runner for the King George is best price 20-1.
Which is?
I think John Bon.
John Bon won't run. I think Long Press would have a chance.
Well, Long Press is available at 33 for the standout 33 with those that sponsor the Nicky Henderson yard, 33-1 at the moment. Long Press.
Well, good luck with that because I'll tell you what will happen. If somebody try, by the way, if you're watching this, try and put a tenner each way on it now. Somebody just try while we're doing it.
No, because they might bloody accept it because with that outfit,
it'll then refer to trader.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
and it'll then go down to about 20. I mean, this is the level of algae we're dealing with.
A couple of comments. Andrew Jones is saying Long Press won't get anywhere near the King George.
Why?
Humper, well, okay, he might respond. And Humper's been back in the comments saying LA Francais runs in November in the Prix Joissalin, won in 1990 by the fellow. I bet SD was there.
I wasn't there. I do, of course, remember the fellow, and I remember Barton Bank falling in the 94 renewal and Algam picking the pieces up under Philip.
Yeah, that was quite reminiscent of Hewitt's win last year, wasn't it? When you had when Shishkin,
Some of us everything tough. Hewitt, and he was put up on this channel, a former Durham National winner, no less. But
how many nationals is there? There must be double figures nationals.
Oh yes, there's you want to count them?
No, we don't need them all. We don't need them all. No, we don't need them all. We don't need them all. Right. There's 3 in Scotland. There's 3 nationals on Scottish soil.
For you.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And there's only 3 courses that jump in Scotland. Or 4. There's 4 of them jump, and 3 of them are bloody national. Anyway, Andrew Jones has replied to you saying,
no, they've all got nationals. Have got the Scottish. Perth have got the Highlands. Kelso have got the Borders, and Musselburgh have got the Edinburgh National.
Yes, there's 4.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, there's obviously not a national at Hamilton. Anyway,
no, there's only one course, whose all courses have got a national, and that's Wales. Because you've got the North Wales at Bangor, the Welsh at Chepstow, and the West Wales at Dross Lass.
Yes.
West Wales. The West Wales. They've got the Welsh national. They've got the Welsh champion hurdle at Foss Lass, and it's a handicap.
Yeah. The Welsh one's a Scottish one.
And the Scottish one's a handicap as well. Anyway.
Yeah.
Alderbrook ran in that.
We need to come to an end here. I'm losing it. Jonesy said Lompress doesn't want a sharp track, and they won't run near anyway. Lompress, King George.
We'll see, won't we? I mean,
you've been told.
I think Kempton's reasonably sharp, and he's shown he'll handle that. So,
yeah. Well, you see if he's not Kempton, it'll be Leopardstown over Christmas. So it's one of the two.
Go to Kempton. Venetia's very, very loyal.
Yeah.
Right. Again, it goes back to a theme that we've touched on earlier. So please do humour me with this final question. The best bet of the national hunt season at the moment, it can be for this weekend for all I care, or anti-post, anything from the Betfair onwards. But I think, having looked at it today, the best value available, I think, is 12-1. I Am Maximus to win the Grand National again, and I'll tell you why. Mainly because the destruction of the race that we have touched on multiple times in this call so far, and as such, reduction in runners. So-called well-handicapped horses are a bit of a thing of the past, really, because the quality of the horse is going up. There's less runners, they're more exposed, etc.
What do you mean? The handicapping system has been in place for 200 years, sir.
Yes.
It's not a thing of the past.
But I think normally a well-handicapped horse is either one that hasn't won for ages or one that's very much unexposed. Well, the latter is now is less likely to get in the Grand National.
As we've identified,
yes.
And therefore you may get runners in from the Gold Cup. It would not surprise me.
So it's just, but a Gold Cup horse isn't going to be
don't put in a horse up, despite what we've just said to you 6 months out. Well done.
No, I'm not. It's a question. I'm humouring myself, and I'm hoping you're going to humour me in a moment.
I'll give you one
question to you. I Am Maximus is definitely going to be targeted the race. We already know what handicap he's going to be off, really. He won last year off 161. He's going to do bugger all between now and April, and he's probably going to get off about 168, something like that. And I think that on the basis that he will run, he's 12-1. You can definitely see him going off half the price of that. You can definitely see that happening.
Yeah. Look.
His Betfair SP will be.
I'm just trying to humour myself, SD. Right, we're going to Watty. Watty, best bet.
I was going to say, best bet at the moment. Well, it's something I've said on. I think it was on Instagram before. I don't know what odds you'll get, but I'm going to take a punt on Constitution Hill losing us unbeaten status.
And is there a price on that?
I don't know. So
no, well,
I just say, it's more of a prediction. I don't want to say such a horse will win this race, but I like to go for something a bit novel, and that way, when it does happen, I can say I predicted it first.
See, that's fair enough, Watty. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But my response, I made a similar response earlier that I don't think that. I think that Constitution Hill might be more likely to never run again than lose his undefeated record, because Nicky just will not run him unless he is 101%.
No,
which is a shame. But I see where you're coming from. But it's just the Henderson factor.
Yeah,
right, go on then, SD.
What will be my best bet of the National Hunt season? Well, there's a great veterans chase at Aintree on Saturday, and it is conveniently priced up.
Oh yeah, go on then. Well, is this an official bet then, SD? Because you're making all the rules up now in this new season.
We'll have half a point each way on it.
Right.
I think Tottenham Frayed will win. I think it is Chuckton. I think the Twiston horses are running really well. He's in a veterans chase. These 10-year-olds have a very good record in it. He's off a mark of 126. And I can see him running really quite well if he stays, and I think he will.
Well, that's 9-1, so you have an offer point each way.
Well, although I'm not going to Aintree on Saturday, but I tell you what, I do like in that pensioners race. That's a Fortescue of Henry Daly's.
You do know the Fortescue statistic. I tell you every time I see you, Watty, don't you?
What's
Fortescue, that? Go on then.
He's a
What's
lot
the stat?
better. He's a lot better right-handed than he is left-handed.
Yeah, but I think this race will cut up a bit. Yeah, I just think he's got as good a chance as any, and tends to need a good price for me each way.
Yeah, it's a nice race. It's a nice.
Yeah,
race.
it is.
Okay, fair enough. Right, we've got a couple of comments to finish up on. We've got one from MT, who he said, "Evening, everyone. Bumped into SD at Sedgefield on Sunday." I'm guessing you're going to remember who this is, SD, because there was only
Matt
4.
the Seaside. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. There's only 4 people there. It's you, Matt, Watty. So there's 3 of them. Right. So yep. Evening to MT. Hump says that his best bet of the season is Factor File for the King George at 7-1. And then another one from Blair, who's been in the comments a couple of times tonight.
Didn't hear
SD, when are you back on the Scottish tracks?
What was his question?
MT's description of. No, he said, "Evening, everybody. I bumped into SD on Sunday."
Oh,
so
there's
that was
no
it. He
question.
was just happy to have met you. Blair says, "When is SD back on Scottish soil?"
It could well be a week on Saturday at Ayr. I'm not going to Kelso. I'll not discuss the reasons here why I'm not at Kelso. But I probably will be at Doncaster Saturday. It'll be Ayr, and if it won't be Ayr, it'll definitely be Borders National at Kelso.
Okay, another one from Blair from a bit earlier. One for Thursday at Southall, 7 p.m. How impressive. I've got a share in this lad. He was in last time, up £5. Joe Levy claims 3. Good draw, should be bang there. So we'll look out for that, Blair, and we will cheer you on at 7 o'clock on Thursday. Make sure you're checking out SD on YouTube Shorts. He's on TikTok.
I don't know how you
on TikTok now as of this week, and he's on Twitter as well with his daily tips. He's had a winner and a place today. So yeah, SD's daily tips. His column is out every Tuesday morning. That's out as well. He's normally slagging someone off in there. MT says that Henderson to win the Chainers Championship is my best bet of the season. I think he was about 14-1, MT. So definitely worth a bet if you think that. And the final question,
supercharged.
Yes,
supercharged. SD's not dancing on TikTok, is he?
No, he's not dancing on TikTok. What's he know? But we might get him dancing at some point before Christmas. But no, SD's daily tips through popular and high popular demand is now live.
Do you want one on Christmas Day at Poe?
Yeah. And the final question of this evening, SD, is we hear that Britain's friendliest racecourse. You say Britain's friendliest racecourse all the time. Which is Wolverhampton, for those that don't know. What would you class as Britain's unfriendliest racecourse, SD, given that you go to them nearly every weekend?
Chelmsford.
Well, you could, Andy Jones, just for who asked that question. I could have been 101, nothing to lay or nothing to back. Sorry, it wouldn't have been a Jockey Club course. I'll tell you that for no. Right, any closing thoughts from you, Watty, before we call it a day?
No, not really.
And I'm joking. That's fine. Go on.
No, like I say, I'm just looking forward to the jump season getting going now. You know, it's always good when it gets fully going. As soon as we get this flat out the way with, and we can concentrate on the proper horses, you know, on races which last longer than 4 minutes.
Christmas. Great running now.
It is. For some reason, January could be a bit flat, but yeah. It's like I say, we've got the Charlie Hall, we've got the what we always call the Mackiston, you know, other stouts available. The Betfair, the Hennessy. Those
I'm just trying to
Cheltenham meetings
between now and Christmas, and I think it goes like this. I think it goes.
We've got time for this.
Aintree, Ayr, Carlisle. Where is it then? Wetherby, Cheltenham, Haydock, Uttoxeter. Bangor-on-Dee, Kelso, Wetherby, Aintree, Kelso. Where's the week after? Cheltenham or Hereford.
Doncaster. Doncaster's on that day as well, though.
And then Windsor. Then it's Haydock and Fakenham and Sedgefield on Boxing Day, and then Wetherby.
Right. If anyone in the comments If anyone in the comments wants a weekly update from SD as to where he's going racing, please let us know. But I think the demand for that will be pretty low.
Yeah.
Right, thanks for that. We'll be back on Thursday, SD. Looking forward to Doncaster, pretty much really the final day of the flat season, and Cheltenham, which is the first day unofficially of the jump
It's a
season.
nice shell suit, by the way, sir. Very 70s.
Yeah, you wouldn't know what you wouldn't have any idea what this is because you've got one track.
Is that Jermaine Genus?
And on that bombshell, see you later. Thank you.